Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man.
You're very welcome. So let's start with your mob, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do.
So my mob is Waka Waka and recently Yuggera, native title. And I can never say this word right, but it's anthropological, bones, that one. Proven that my great uncle, George Beckett, was a tracker for the police. So, yeah, it's learned that way.
So you just want to start with a flex, straight up.
Straight up.
Well played.
But, yeah, man, so, going through native title, and we'll figure that out in 10 years, maybe.
So, yeah, let's talk about, what you do.
So right now I'm working as federal government. Just, got to pay the bills and everything. Got a 2-year-old, so someone has to feed him. But on the side, it's screenwriting and recently poetry, mostly sonnets.
Well done.
Yeah.
So we go back. We met in 2017.
We did.
Film school.
We did.
I was acting, you were writing, and we've sort of nurtured a friendship from there and worked in creative aspects. So let's delve straight into the writing. Take me back. Let's talk about your childhood a little bit, but I want to understand where you first fell in love with story.
Well, depends on how deep you want to go. Deep?
Let's go.
You're going deep. Rightio. Well, so I don't remember too much up until the age of 7. Then my mother and father broke up, so my father is where I get my Aboriginal heritage from. And then single mum, she done her best. And 1 month before my 9th birthday, my father passed away. So that was pretty hardcore. And then after that, it was just going through the motions of a 9 to 13-year-old. And 13 is when everything kicked off. Drugs, mental health, and all that. But in writing, I've always loved music, always, and most of the heavier bands. So what I would do was I would listen to the music, because I knew the words, right? I listened to these songs thousands of times. I would listen to the music, and I would write my own lyrics. The first song I ever wrote was titled Rage. So, it really delves into that young teenage sort of anger that young men walk around with. But that was the first time that I had actually sat down and thought that I'm going to try and write something. And I continue to do it. So I've got a very disgusting handwritten book of lyrics, or the way I see it as poetry. That's what I think lyrics are. Of these songs written out, complete plagiarise of my favourite band's music and my own words over the top.
I want to sort of just go back just a tad. There was the little age where we sort of talked about drugs and mental health, the passing of dad. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's heavy.
There was a lot there in a short space and crucial time.
Yeah.
My eldest daughter is 13. To think of that impact of those things. Do you want to take me back? And
Yeah. So, it's just glimpses of the funeral. Like I remember putting my hand on his forehead. Remember how cold he was. And then after that it was heavy after that. Again, a removal from culture. And when I say removal from culture, it's nothing on my mother. It's just a single mother trying to do what they have to do. And then from about the age of 12, actually, I know I said 13 before, but it was about 12 when you said you wanted to go deep, so let's go deep. I actually lost my virginity when I was 12, which is, I tell people that and they, whoa. And then discovered the joy of cigarettes at 14, and then from that it would start with pot, weed, and then
gateway drug.
And obviously not proud of this and not trying to find some validation, whatever word, but it's probably easier for me to tell you the drugs I have not done as opposed to the ones I have done. And yeah, so the times between 12 and let's go 16. let's go 17. 12 and 17 is a big blur of lots of drugs, a very bad home environment. My mother got with a new partner. He was, abusive alcoholic. Then I started drinking, and that was amazing. Not really. And
I understand it. At the time, it was escapism.
Yeah.
To take you away from those environments.
Yeah. It started out going to my friend's place and, having a couple of billies to, I need this every day. And it was about 15, 16 when things came to a head, because that was my first real suicide attempt. And it wasn't back in the cutting wrist days of, I want to kill myself. It was, I am done with this shit. And tried it. And then what actually happened was the rope broke. So you want to call that my father looking over me, you want to call that divine intervention, call it what you will. It just wasn't meant to be, apparently. And then a long, long road to living with myself.
Speaking about this topic is so important.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this about me. I remember in social media, there was these push-up challenges for mental health, and people would do push-up challenges, and they felt like that was their way of, I'm going to do a push-up challenge to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't you just talk about mental health?
For real,
Talk about those things. Yeah. Share your story. So this, not in context, is great. We're talking about this. That time when you did attempt suicide, you said that was the first time.
Yeah. So what happened was that was the most serious time, and that try to hang myself, and then I actually went to the mental health ward for 2 or 3 weeks involuntary. And that's when you put yourself into perspective, when you say, hey,
yes,
I might have it bad, but someone's always worse off than you. And and then got out of there and went back to the toxic relationship, went back to the drugs and drinkers, as what happens. And then was just telling people I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it. And that's a very scary notion, especially for someone like myself, in particular family members. They know that Josh has done it once and he had a plan to do it. So is there a way, is there a possibility that it's going to happen again? And it's the same for everyone else.
And at that point in time, after the first attempt, were there any family members or friends that took the courage to have a conversation with you about it, or everyone kind of just, I'm here to support you, but didn't want to talk about that?
I'm sure there was, but I can't quite remember. I can't quite remember sitting down with Uncle so-and-so, Auntie so-and-so, and doing this.
Do you think there was something that could have been said to assist, prevent first, and then what would you say?
Okay, I'm with you. I don't think so. I've always been a bit of a loner, not a big friend person. I don't really like people too much. But I didn't have a really big friend group, and if I, as I sit here today, could go back to that guy, that would be what I would say. Whether it was pre-attempt or post-attempt, you are strong enough to get through this, and you do not need substances. Just stop it all. You can live without it, because I have. In my later life, like right now, today's a Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday, tomorrow will be 6 weeks without booze, the longest I've ever gone in my life.
Amazing.
Yeah,
but it's hard, right?
It's fucking really hard.
It's not one substance.
It's not
multiple substances doing certain things emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Companionship, it's a sure thing. It's a way out.
Yeah, and when I say substances, especially now in 2025, I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol. I'm talking about the information that I was consuming.
Yes.
the people I was hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
I know I said I didn't have a lot of friends, but I still hung around with a lot of people, and they were just not good.
In the same.
Yeah, you know, they were in the same sort of, they were people I did drugs with.
Yes. Mm.
And if anyone has been through such a period, those people aren't your friends. You might have one good relationship,
One that lasts.
but those people they're a manifestation of the life you're living.
Mm.
And if you're living a life of getting on the booze, getting on whatever, these people that hang around that same stuff are gonna hang around you.
Is it safe to say that storytelling and writing may have saved your life?
I think so. It really, I'm always up in my head, always. And it really helped getting it out. As I said, the first poem or the song I wrote was called Rage. You know, I'd sit back now and laugh at it. You know, poxy little 16-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever it was, very angry at the world. But that's a particular way to get that emotion out. No matter how cliche it is, no matter how silly it might sound, no matter how much I'd cringe and shake my head when I go back and read it, but that was an avenue to get that emotion out. So when it comes to actually taking it seriously and coming up with a story, it's a way for the writer, me, to harness emotion, or a thematic trope, I guess, and put that through this story.
Mm.
And, you know, you might think that, oh, this will make a great story. The market wants it. People want to hear this story, but fuck all that. Like, write it for you.
Mm.
If your story is a vulnerable story of a 16-year-old taking his own life, trying to take his own life, and living the steps after that, just write it.
And that writing, for, let's just say there's some younger people that might watch this episode, they might draw, they might paint, they might run.
Yeah.
Don't stop doing that.
Yeah.
Even though some people might look at it as, oh, you know,
Yeah, like
your little art thing on the side, but that's saving their life, that's giving them purpose.
Yeah.
So, you know, for younger people or a parent that might want to share parts of this, because we are touching on sensitive issues.
Yeah.
And I think this is exactly where we need to be sitting, because people don't talk about this enough. Younger people, what's some quick advice that we could give to them about artistic expression and the importance that has to do with mental health?
To the people who, whether it's writing, dancing, drawing, skating, whatever your avenue is, if you're in a shit situation and it makes you feel better, or it brings those emotions up and it's an avenue you can let it out, continue to do it. It doesn't matter if people tell you, oh, you're studying writing, can you make a living off that? It doesn't matter if you've got homework to do and you're out skating. It doesn't matter if you like dancing but you're not very good at it. If it's an avenue that assists you with the thoughts and feelings you're having, go down it. You do this for yourself. You do art for yourself first, not for people outside.
Where are you at now with processing those times of your life? Where are you at in your healing journey that I feel that we all go through?
Mm-hmm.
And with Dad, where are you at with those things today?
I can't really answer that, I'm just one foot in front of the other.
And that's an incredible strategy.
And it's a credible strategy. And when I say that, it's not I'm depressed, I'm still thinking about this stuff. It's literally just going, actually, to answer it, I've always felt like I'm running away from things in my life because I'm running towards something, even if I don't know what that thing is. You know, I was running away from the emotions, the bad family environment, the toxic relationships with the drugs. You know, I was running away from that, and that was my vessel to get to somewhere. So that's pretty much what it is. It's understanding how impactful these things are to other people, like my mother, like my family, like my friends. And it's difficult because it's about me, and I hate being the center of attention. So it's sort of like I have to take myself out and say, hey, this happened to that person. It's pretty fucking hardcore. Maybe if I can share that story, other people will see it and go, I can relate to that. That's happened to me. And they can find a piece of a little safe haven.
Oh, brother.
To start
Amen.
with. Yeah.
People need to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And it's easy to feel like you're alone in those times.
Yeah.
Even though if you take yourself out of that situation, you know you're not alone, but it feels like you are. So I think it's important, you speaking your truth, to empower those people, because we've all felt it in one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's that saying, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So, I say suicide attempt and toxic, blah, 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 drugs and everything. There's people out there who've had it way worse than I have. But I haven't experienced that. I don't know what it's like to have sexual assault. I don't know what it's like to be kidnapped. I don't know what it's like to be taken away from my family. But as you said, this is my truth. And if I can write my truth, if I tell my truth through my lens, maybe the hypothetical 16-year-old Josh out there will see it and go, okay, I'm going through this part. I do not want to go through the rest.
Let's talk about your work, working with mob, and sort of what that brings to you.
So Screen Queensland was a very, very important job. It was a little bit more than a job to me at the start. And the reason why it was the first reconnection I had with my culture. Before then it was warehouse jobs. I was a chef for almost 10 years. But then I started working at SQ in 2021. Yeah. And that was the first big reconnection with my community that I had since my father died, maybe. And it was just good to be around Aboriginal people. Like, I remember my manager to start with, his name was Douglas Watkin. You know him well. Old Dougie. Talking to him and, working with him, I hadn't heard the word gammon for years. And just to hear that, it's like...
Hey, look out.
Yeah,
Ears just go,
look out.
There's a black fellow around. Yeah.
I always felt my position was a position of privilege, not power. And I think it's very important that more people heed that message.
Part of this podcast is for people to speak their truth. The New Dreaming podcast is about truth telling, empowering others by telling their story. There's some people out there that have stories in their mind they can't get started. Let's talk about some practical advice for writers to get started, even if it's that first page.
Make it as simple as possible. So I use Taken, the Taken films.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. They're always easy, And this is an example of simplifying such a huge sort of story. Ex-Special Forces guy has to rescue his daughter when she's been kidnapped by human traffickers. So if you can get your story if you can just simplify it in one sentence, it's very hard to do. But if you can just try and do that, I guarantee you will have the big picture. So
it is the perfecting of the elevator pitch.
Yeah, and I
literally have, from the time you get in an elevator to the top floor, you have to pitch your idea to someone. Get really good at that. Clarity. And then once you get that, you can...
That's a better word, actually, clarity. If you can clarify your story, it doesn't matter how many elements it has, it doesn't matter how many peaks and valleys your story has. If you get clarity on it, so that's my advice. If you can get as clear as it can, it's a story about something or someone struggling with this to arrive at this outcome.
Got it. Very quickly, watched a YouTube video, watched many YouTube videos on writing, and they talked about the elevator pitch, and there was Black Klansmen. And they were like, this is how they summed up their movie. Black man infiltrates KKK. Mic drop. how quick do you think it is, or how important do you think it is to get friends and family involved in your writing process? At what point should you bring other people in? Because we are artists and we are our biggest critics, and it's a place of vulnerability usually to write. So it's like, I don't want to show anyone because I'm...
Yeah.
When should you get someone involved, and how important is it to get other people involved in that creative process?
I think it comes in steps. If you have a friendship like you and I have, and I can see you next week and say, I started this 10 pages, it's this, it's that, that's a different story. If you want people, if you are so attached to the script and you want feedback and you want people to know that it exists, I'd honestly wait until you're about 50 pages in. Because...
Or 50% for a short film.
Or 50% for a short film. Because there, you've got a big bulk of the story in there, and now it's not going to be perfect. That's what one thing people have to understand is good writing is rewriting. Because in that, you're going to have a little bit of tone, you're going to have your voice, and you're more than likely going to know what the story is or what it's building to.
For sure.
I think getting people in too early might cloud the writer's progression of the script. Because if I have 3 pages, 10 pages, and I show it to you and you go, oh, it sort of sucks, then, everything I wanted to write in the rest of the script is going to suck too. Whereas if I get you in at 50 pages, you might say, oh, this part's not working, this is great. So rather than the 10 pages being all that your audience, all that your friends, I guess, can read, they've got a massive bulk of 50 pages, and they can say, now I see the story. So yeah.
Take advice, use it as an offering, but just know that it doesn't mean your work is crap.
Right.
It's subjective. We've had writers' rooms where you have ripped apart my stuff.
Yep.
I go away, have a cry.
Yeah.
My ego has a cry. And I don't like it immediately, but then I stop and I simmer and I go, yeah, that is weak. Are you attacking me, Josh?
Yeah.
I'm attacked right now.
You know what? You're attacking.
No, but I think it is important that it is the right people that care about you and respect your authentic voice.
Yeah, and it's going to take you a while to find these people. And like you said, you can't. If David doesn't like my story, it doesn't mean it's a shit story. It might hurt me and go have a cry because I love this story. But yeah, you've sort of got to have a thick skin to take feedback. And it took me years to grow it. Like I remember in film school, I was like, no, this is good. To my lecturer. I'm like, no, you don't know what you're on about. It's like, no, pull your head out and learn from these people.
Yeah, I like to operate in, if I make a note for someone, it has to have an offering.
Yeah. Because
if you can just say this needs to be stronger, and if you can't conceive an offering, you don't understand it enough to have an opinion. If you can't have an opinion with an offering for every single note, maybe not the best person for the writer, because I can say, Josh, this feels a bit weak. But if I can't put my finger on why, I'm not giving you an offering.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's something that I have to do for myself. So for someone that's out there writing, they've got some feedback, they don't like it. What's a way to help writers check their ego to understand that these people are just trying to help push the story forward? Some humility checks right now to keep you moving, because it's easy to get discouraged and get down and go, oh, F the industry, I'm not applying for any more. I said no. It's hard. This industry is hard.
It's very hard, and you will get knocked back more times than you will get picked up. If you get negative feedback, you don't then just write the opposite of the negative feedback to sort of go up yours to the person who gave you that negative feedback. No. You just keep going and either take it on board or don't. Because that's what the constructive criticism is. In fact, it's probably harder to have a good script if everyone around you is going, this is great. Because then you're like, cool, I don't have to do anything with it.
What does the future look like for Mr. Josh Beckett?
I don't know. Trying to keep it together, continuously writing, continuously this industry is all about making contacts, and people take that out of perspective too much. It's like, you've got to go to every event, you've got to like every single status, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Yes and no. You've got to go to these things, and you will know if the investment that I put into David or into this person is the right thing for you to do. But to answer your question, I'll finish the script of my teenage years, of my youth. I will finish that in the next few years. I'll probably finish the period piece and hopefully take that to second draft phase, and just keep writing in my notebook of my poetry, because that's one thing I want to say. First of all, I don't think writer's block exists. Explain.
This is for people out there.
So I don't think it exists. I think you get stuck in scripts, 100%. I'm stuck right now in one. I think you get stuck, and I think that you try and write and you go, this is horrible. I've had a blockage. No. What you're having there is a difficult moment in that script. So go to another one. Go write poetry. Go write longhand. And if you don't know what longhand is, that's writing with your hand.
Yes.
Go and write a play. Go and write a stage play. Continuously write. And it doesn't matter what format, and it doesn't matter how bad it is. I have a notebook there of sonnets that Shakespeare would, turn in his grave. They're horrible. But they are a way for me to keep writing, get those emotions out, and look at the page and go, I've produced something. It might be shit, but it's not for people to see.
So we talked about one step forward as a strategy, and River, your son, obviously we think bigger for our children, we plan for them. But back to healing, where is Josh at with healing from what we spoke about in the past?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good. He's pretty stable these days. He's got a lot to live for, and should I get back into those feelings of carrying around this pit of sadness or this feeling of abandonment of everything, it honestly does just help me self-center, get myself back to center, because that is the only place where things make sense. Where am I now? Okay, I might be feeling a bit shit, but I'm still putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and just trying to keep it together.
That feeling that you said that you're carrying around, how long has that feeling been there as of late?
As of late, probably about 3 months. In a script, they call that the dark night of the soul.
Now, people out there that are going through a tough time, whether it's writer's block, whether it's emotional, mental health, let's just talk about positive outlets. It doesn't have to be creative. It can be sports. It can be just catching up with that one friend that listens. Let's shed some light on that, the importance of it.
Yeah. And the importance is having people to connect with. And as I said, I've been a loner most of my life. So it's like, when you do find that person who is willing to listen, it's phenomenal. And if you do not have friends, which a lot of people don't, you have to find something that, as I mentioned before, you have to find something that centers yourself, and that could be a walk on the beach, that could be sitting down in a coffee shop taking notes, it could just be, going for a walk in nature. But one thing you cannot do on your healing journey is remain by yourself.
What do they say? Happiness is an inside job.
Happiness is an inside job. And we all don't have to walk around and be all high and mighty. We just have to function.
And then those people that are alone, I guess it's very important to make sure who you are following, the content you're absorbing, the algorithm, which in effect is reflective by what you search for, what you click on, what you look at. Feed the algorithm with positivity, creativity, outlets, positive stuff, because kids, social media, it's easy to follow fake leaders
Yeah, man, and that's actually a really good point. Like when you're feeling down, it's very easy. It's very easy, and you almost want to continue to go down that hole. And if you look at one thing on your algorithm, you're going to show more, and it's almost like a positive feedback loop of negativity. It's like, hey, I want this, yeah, but this is just so shit. So, and then when you said fill it with positivity, this isn't puppies and cats and little babies doing funny things. It's that little bit of light that you have, which we all do, even when we're in those shithouse situations. The music. I delved into music so much. I can't sing, I can't play an instrument, but it was the avenue that helped. And then you build from that. And people can find a way.
Are you sure I'm not speaking to a motivational speaker right now?
Maybe.
Brother, thank you for your time.
We're good.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
Always.
And we'll have to reconnect.
Sounds good, man.
Amazing. Thanks, man.
Thanks, brother.